The galaxy was quiet. It had been quiet for 300 years. The big alien races had made peace with each other long ago. They had rules about who could go where and who could fight whom. Everyone followed these rules because breaking them meant war, and war was bad for business. The Cathari Empire controlled the edge of the galaxy. They had the best energy weapons and the fastest ships. Their soldiers wore shiny armor and fought with honor. They believed they were the strongest race in space. The Vorak were different. They looked like living crystals and could bend space itself. They controlled all the trade routes between worlds. If you wanted to buy or sell anything important, you had to go through them. They were smart and careful, never taking big risks. Then there were the hive people, millions of bug-like creatures that shared one mind. They lived in the center of the galaxy and kept order. When the hive decided something, millions of warriors would act as one. No one argued with the hive. These three powers kept the peace. They had divided up the galaxy between them. Each one was strong enough to hurt the others badly, so they all stayed in their own areas. It worked well for everyone except the humans. Earth was far away from all the important worlds. The few aliens who had visited there said it was a primitive planet full of violent creatures who spent most of their time fighting each other. The official report said humans had just learned to travel between stars and were not worth worrying about. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance and looked out at the stars. His ship was 2 km long and built like a floating fortress. It had thick armor, powerful guns, and enough supplies to fight for months without stopping. The aliens built their ships to look beautiful. Humans built their ships to survive. Morrison was 45 years old and had fought in 3 wars on Mars. He was tall and thin with gray hair and cold blue eyes. His crew of 12,000 people had been chosen from the best soldiers Earth had to offer. They all knew this mission was important, even if they did not know exactly what they would find out here. Dr. Lisa Carter was the ship's science officer. She was a small woman with red hair who had spent years studying alien technology. Her team had taken apart every piece of alien equipment they could find and built better versions. The Vengeance carried weapons that combined human engineering with alien science. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres handled tactics and weapons. He was young but smart, and he understood that humans fought differently than aliens. Other races followed rules and traditions in battle. Humans adapted. They did whatever worked, even if it was ugly or cruel. The Vengeance had been flying through space for 2 months on what everyone thought was a simple patrol mission. They were supposed to check on the outer colonies and make sure everything was peaceful. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Then they got the signal. It was weak and broken, coming from deep space near the edge of Cathari territory. The message was in English and it was desperate. Someone was asking for help. Morrison studied the signal with his officers. It was coming from the direction where the colony ship Aurora had disappeared 2 years ago. The Aurora had been carrying 5,000 colonists to a new world. One day, it just stopped sending messages. Search teams had found nothing. The captain said, "Dr. Carter, the signal is definitely from the Aurora, but it's not coming from where they were supposed to go. It's coming from Cathari space." Torres looked at the star charts. "That's deep in alien territory, sir. If we go there, we'll be starting an incident." Morrison thought about the 5,000 people who had vanished, men, women, and children who had left Earth to build new lives on distant worlds. If they were still alive, they were probably prisoners. The Cathari had a reputation for taking slaves from primitive worlds. "Set course for the signal," Morrison ordered. "Maximum speed." The Vengeance turned toward Cathari space. Its engines burned bright as it accelerated past the speed that most alien ships could handle. Human ships were built tougher and could push harder than the elegant vessels other races preferred. As they traveled, Dr. Carter and her team worked to decode more of the signal. What they found made everyone angry. The Aurora had been attacked and captured. Its passengers were being held on a mining world called Kepler 442b. The message had been sent by someone who had managed to hide a small transmitter. The message was 3 words repeated over and over: "Please help us." Morrison called his senior officers together. The bridge was quiet as he explained what they had learned. The Aurora's passengers were alive but enslaved. They were being forced to work in dangerous mines, and many had already died. "We have 2 choices," Morrison said. "We can go back to Earth and report this. By the time a rescue mission is organized, most of those people will be dead, or we can handle this ourselves." Dr. Carter spoke first. "Captain, we're 1 ship going into hostile territory." "The Cathari have hundreds of vessels in that area," Torres nodded. "And if we attack them, it could start a war between Earth and the alien powers." Morrison looked at each of his officers. These were good people who understood the risks, but they also understood what it meant to be human. When one of your own was in trouble, you did not abandon them. You did not count the cost. You did whatever it took to bring them home. The Aurora sent a distress call 2 years ago, Morrison said. Earth is finally answering. The Vengeance flew deeper into alien space, heading toward a confrontation that would change everything. The galaxy's long peace was about to end, and it would end because humans had learned something the other races had forgotten. Sometimes the right thing to do was also the most dangerous thing to do, and humans had never been afraid of danger. The Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace above Kepler 442b like a hammer falling from the sky. The planet below was brown and ugly, covered in mining operations that had torn huge scars across its surface. In orbit around the planet, 12 Cathari warships floated in perfect formation. Commander Zethar was drinking his morning meal when the alarm started screaming. He was a tall, thin alien with blue skin and forearms. Like all Cathari, he believed his race was superior to every other species in the galaxy. He had been stationed at this mining world for 5 years, and nothing interesting had ever happened. "Report," he ordered as he walked onto the bridge of his command ship. "Unknown vessel has appeared in the system," his weapons officer said. "It does not match any ship in our database." Zethar looked at the screen. The human ship was massive and ugly, like someone had taken a metal building and attached engines to it. It had no grace, no beauty. It looked like it had been built by primitives who cared more about function than form. "Scan it," he ordered. The results made him laugh. The ship had thick armor instead of energy shields. It used simple projectile weapons instead of elegant plasma cannons. Most ridiculous of all, it was full of thousands of crew members instead of the small, efficient teams that civilized races used. "Send them the standard message," Zethar said. "Tell them to surrender or be destroyed." On the Vengeance, Morrison watched the alien ships through the main screen. They were beautiful vessels, sleek and white with flowing lines. They looked like works of art floating in space. But Morrison was not impressed by their beauty. He was counting their weapons and studying their formation. "Incoming message, Captain," said Communications Officer Bates Stone. "Put it through." The alien commander appeared on screen. He spoke in perfect English, which meant the Cathari had been watching Earth longer than anyone had suspected. "Primitive vessel, you have entered Cathari space without permission. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Morrison looked at the alien for a long moment. Then he cut the transmission without saying a word. "Captain?" Torres asked. "All hands, battle stations," Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. "This is not a drill. We are going to free our people, and anyone who tries to stop us will be destroyed." The Vengeance began to move. It was not fast or graceful like the Cathari ships, but it moved with purpose like a predator stalking its prey. Zethar could not believe what he was seeing. The primitive ship was actually preparing to fight, one vessel against 12 of the Cathari Empire's finest warships. It was suicide. "Target their engines," he ordered. "We will disable them and take prisoners. The High Command will want to study these creatures." The Cathari ships opened fire. 12 plasma cannons sent bright streams of energy toward the human vessel. The beams were beautiful to watch, like liquid lightning dancing through space. The plasma hit the Vengeance's armor and did nothing. "Impossible," Zethar whispered. Morrison smiled grimly as the alien weapons splashed harmlessly across his ship's hull. "Torres, show them how humans fight." The Vengeance fired back, but instead of energy beams, it launched solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. The railgun rounds punched through the first Cathari ship like it was made of paper. The elegant vessel exploded in a ball of fire. "Evasive maneuvers," Zethar screamed. But the Cathari ships were not built for the kind of brutal combat the humans brought to them. They were designed for graceful duels between civilized opponents who followed the rules of war. The human ship fought like a wild animal, firing from multiple directions at once and shrugging off return fire. 2 more Cathari ships died in the first minute. Their shields were useless against solid projectiles traveling at near light speed. Their armor was too thin to stop weapons designed to crack open asteroids. "Fall back," Zethar ordered. "Call for reinforcements." But it was too late. The human ship was among them now, firing continuously. Its guns never seemed to stop, never seemed to overheat. The Cathari had built weapons that were efficient and elegant. The humans had built weapons that just kept shooting. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, 11 Cathari ships were debris floating in space. Only Zethar's command vessel survived, and it was badly damaged. Morrison opened a channel to the alien commander. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth vessel Vengeance. You have human prisoners on that planet. You will release them immediately." Zethar looked at the human on his screen. The alien's face was calm, but his eyes were cold as space itself. "You cannot do this. There are treaties. There are rules. Your people broke the rules when they took our civilians," Morrison said. "Now you pay the price." Major Kate Phillips led the assault on the mining station. She and her Marines wore powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. The Cathari guards had never faced enemies that could absorb their weapons' fire and keep coming. The human soldiers moved through the facility like a force of nature. They kicked down doors, smashed through barriers, and fought with a fury that terrified the aliens. The Cathari were used to civilized warfare where enemies surrendered when the odds were hopeless. The humans just kept fighting. Phillips found the human prisoners in the deep mines. They were thin and sick, forced to work in conditions that would have killed most alien species. Many had died already. The survivors looked at their rescuers with tears in their eyes. "We knew you would come," whispered an old man named Carl Davis. "We knew Earth would not abandon us." Dr. Carter examined the rescued colonists on the Vengeance. What she found made everyone angry. The Cathari had not just used them as slave labor. They had been conducting medical experiments, taking blood samples, studying human biology. They were preparing for something. Carter told Morrison, "This was not just about mining. They were learning about us." Morrison looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other human ships might be suffering the same fate. The galaxy was bigger than Earth had known, and humanity had more enemies than they had imagined. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them what we found here. Tell them we are going to need more ships." The Vengeance left Kepler 442b with its rescued passengers behind them. The planet's mining operations lay in ruins. The Cathari Empire had learned that humans were not the primitive species they had thought, but they had no idea how much worse things were about to become. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days, every major alien civilization knew about the destruction at Kepler 442b. The Cathari Empire was in shock. 12 of their warships had been destroyed by a single unknown vessel. It was impossible, but the wreckage floating in space proved it had happened. Emperor Vashitar called an emergency meeting of his war council. He was an old Cathari with scars across his blue face from battles fought long ago. He had ruled the empire for 50 years and had never faced a threat like this. "What do we know about these humans?" he demanded. General Keithmore spread holographic displays across the table. "Very little, my lord. Our scouts reported them as a primitive species 20 years ago. They had just developed basic space travel and spent most of their time fighting each other." "Primitive species do not destroy battle fleets," the Emperor growled. Intelligence Officer Nethful stepped forward. "My lord, we have discovered something disturbing. The humans have been expanding into dozens of star systems over the past decade. We simply did not notice because they avoided our territory." The Emperor's 4 eyes widened. "How many systems?" "At least 40, possibly more. They have been very quiet about it." Meanwhile, the Vorak Trade Federation was having similar discussions. Ambassador Quelter, a being that looked like a living crystal, stood before the Federation Council. His body glowed with nervous energy as he delivered his report. "The humans are not what we thought," he said. "Our trade scouts have encountered their merchant vessels in 17 different systems. They appeared to be simple cargo ships, but now we realize they were probably scouting missions." Council leader Prathar pulsed with angry light. "Why were we not informed of this expansion?" "Because they were so unremarkable," Quelter admitted. "Their ships were crude. Their technology seemed basic. We dismissed them as unimportant." The Hive Collective learned of the battle through their own methods. The Queen Voice, speaking for billions of insect-like creatures, processed the information with cold logic. The humans had destroyed enemy ships using kinetic weapons and heavy armor. This suggested a species that preferred direct confrontation over elegant warfare. Most disturbing was the fact that the human ship had fought alone without support. This was not normal behavior for any known species. Civilized races fought in formations with backup plans and retreat options. The humans seemed to believe that one ship could take on an entire fleet and win. 3 weeks after the battle at Kepler 442b, Admiral Susan Blake arrived at the edge of Cathari space with a fleet that made the galaxy tremble. 12 massive battleships, each one the size of a small city. 30 cruisers bristling with weapons, hundreds of smaller vessels carrying marines and supplies. Blake was a veteran of Earth's colonial wars, a small woman with gray hair and steel in her eyes. She had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile aliens across human space. Now she faced her biggest challenge yet. Cathari had assembled their own fleet to meet her, 300 vessels of various sizes, including their most advanced warships. They had also called in allies. Crystal ships from the Vorak Federation floated alongside Cathari vessels. Bioships from the Hive Collective pulsed with organic light. Blake stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and studied the enemy formation. It was the largest alien fleet ever assembled. Any reasonable commander would have retreated and called for more ships. Blake was not reasonable, she was human. "Open a channel to the Cathari fleet," she ordered. Emperor Vashitor himself appeared on the screen. He wore golden armor and carried the ceremonial weapons of his rank. Behind him stood the representatives of his allies, a show of unity against the human threat. "I am Admiral Blake of the Earth Defense Force," she said calmly. "You have kidnapped and enslaved human civilians. Return them immediately along with compensation for their suffering. You have 1 hour to comply." The Emperor laughed. "Admiral, you face the combined might of 3 galactic powers. You have 12 ships. We have over 300. Surrender now and we will be merciful." Blake smiled coldly. "Emperor, you clearly do not understand who you are dealing with. Let me educate you." The Battle of the Zirian Nebula began when Blake cut the transmission and gave the order to attack. The human fleet split apart and vanished into the nebula's radiation clouds. The aliens had expected a traditional battle, ship against ship in open space. Instead, they got a nightmare. Commander Alex Hunter, captain of the UES Retribution, led the first attack. His ship emerged from the nebula like a ghost, fired a full spread of missiles at a Cathari cruiser, and disappeared again before the aliens could respond. The cruiser exploded, and suddenly the alien fleet was shooting at shadows. The nebula was full of radiation that blocked most sensors. The aliens found themselves blind, firing at false contacts while human ships struck from unexpected directions. The Cathari had planned for a civilized battle between opposing fleets. The humans gave them a guerrilla war in space. Captain Monica Davis of the UES Devastator made the decision that shocked both sides. Her ship had been surrounded by 5 alien vessels and was taking heavy damage. Her shields were failing and Cathari boarding parties were cutting through her hull. Any sensible commander would have surrendered. Davis was not sensible. She was angry. "All hands abandon ship," she ordered. Then she turned to her navigation officer. "Set collision course for their flagship, maximum speed." "Captain, the crew is not clear yet," the officer protested. "Then they better hurry," Davis said. The Devastator, its hull breached and engines dying, rammed straight into the Cathari command ship. Davis triggered the self-destruct sequence at the moment of impact. The explosion destroyed both vessels and 4 others nearby. The alien fleet had never seen anything like it. A commander who would die rather than surrender. A crew that would follow such orders without question. It went against everything they understood about rational behavior. Dr. Ben Parker, serving as the human fleet science officer, monitored alien communications during the battle. What he heard fascinated and horrified him. The aliens were not just confused by human tactics, they were psychologically shattered. "They keep saying we are insane," he reported to Admiral Blake. "They cannot understand why we fight when the odds are hopeless." Blake nodded as she watched another human ship ram an alien cruiser. "That is why we will win, Doctor. They fight to achieve victory. We fight because our people need us to fight." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 200 alien ships were destroyed or disabled. The human fleet had lost 4 vessels, but the survivors were battered and bloody. The alien alliance retreated, but not in defeat. Emperor Vashitor sent a message across the galaxy. The humans were not just another species to be conquered. They were a threat to the natural order of civilization itself. The galaxy's 3 greatest powers began preparing for total war. The Zapirian Council had not met in 50 years. The Great Hall on the neutral world of Sanctuary Prime was built to hold representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy. Today, for the first time in generations, every seat was filled. Ambassador Kretel of the Vorak Federation stood at the center of the hall. His crystal body pulsed with urgent light as he addressed the gathered aliens. Around him sat hundreds of delegates from dozens of species, all united by a single concern: humanity. "Fellow beings," Kretel began, "we face a threat unlike any in our recorded history. These humans do not follow the accepted rules of civilized warfare. They do not seek negotiation when faced with superior numbers. They do not surrender when defeat is certain." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Everyone had heard the reports from Zirian Nebula. A human captain had destroyed her own ship rather than be captured. Such behavior was beyond the understanding of most galactic civilizations. General Yethkar of the Cathari stood next. His blue skin was pale with stress, and his forearms shook with barely controlled anger. They are expanding across our galaxy like a plague. We have identified human colonies in over 60 star systems. They have been spreading for decades while we ignored them. The queen voice of the Hive Collective spoke through her translation device. Her insect features were unreadable, but her words carried the weight of a billion minds thinking as one. Analysis indicates humans evolved on a death world. Their entire species developed through constant warfare. They know no other way to exist. Ambassador Thelmer from the peaceful Relian Commonwealth raised a tentacle. Surely we can reason with them. Every intelligent species can be negotiated with. A holographic display showed the wreckage from Kepler 442b and Xerion Nebula, ships torn apart by kinetic weapons, alien crews that had surrendered only to be ignored as human vessels continued their attacks. "They sent us an ambassador," Kretel said. "Colonel Gary Mitchell arrived yesterday under a flag of truce." The human delegation was small, just 3 people in simple military uniforms walking into a hall filled with hundreds of alien representatives. Colonel Mitchell was a tall man with graying hair and calm eyes. Behind him walked Major Ann Foster, a communications specialist, and Dr. Kevin Walsh, a xenobiologist. Mitchell looked around the hall at faces that represented dozens of different species. Some were humanoid, others were completely alien. All of them were staring at him with fear, anger, or curiosity. "Honored delegates," Mitchell began, "I come here to prevent a war that will destroy millions of lives on all sides." Emperor Vashater of the Cathari interrupted him. "You speak of preventing war while your fleets burn our ships and conquer our worlds." Mitchell's expression did not change. "Your Majesty, we have conquered no worlds. We have established colonies on uninhabited planets and defended our people when they were attacked. Every human military action has been in response to aggression against our civilians. You enslaved our people first," Major Foster added quietly. "The Aurora's passengers were taken from their ship and forced to work in your mines. Many died before we could rescue them." The hall erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted accusations at the humans while others demanded explanations from the Cathari. Mitchell waited patiently for the noise to die down. "We want peace," he said when the hall was quiet again. "But we will not accept the enslavement or murder of human beings. Any species that attacks our colonies will face retaliation until every human prisoner is returned and full compensation is paid." Ambassador Zethil of the Andromeden stood up. "Colonel, your demands are unreasonable. You expect entire civilizations to change their behavior because of your primitive moral concepts." Mitchell looked at the alien diplomat. "Ambassador, every human life has value. We do not abandon our people. We do not leave them to die. If that makes us primitive, then we accept that judgment." The Queen voice spoke again. "Humans reproduce rapidly and spread aggressively. Your expansion threatens the natural balance of galactic civilization. This cannot be permitted." Dr. Walsh stepped forward. "Your Majesty, humans seek only to live in peace and raise our families. We explore new worlds because our population is growing. We defend ourselves because we must. We are not seeking conquest." "Then why do you refuse to limit your expansion?" demanded General Yethkar. Mitchell's eyes grew cold. "General, would you ask your people to stop having children? Would you tell them they cannot build new homes or seek new opportunities? We will not accept limits on human freedom imposed by alien governments." The debate continued for hours. The aliens demanded that humanity stop expanding, share their military technology, and submit to galactic oversight. The humans refused every demand while offering only one thing in return: peaceful coexistence. Finally, Ambassador Kretel delivered the Council's ultimatum. "Colonel Mitchell, the Galactic Council demands that humanity withdraw from all disputed systems, disarm your military fleets, and accept integration into our civilization under our guidance. You have 30 days to comply." Mitchell stood quietly for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm but final. "Ambassador, humanity rejects your ultimatum. We will not withdraw from worlds where our people have built their homes. We will not disarm while our colonies face threats, and we will never accept the authority of governments that do not represent us." "Then you choose war," Emperor Vashater said. "No, Your Majesty," Mitchell replied. "You choose war. We simply choose to survive it." As the human delegation left the hall, emergency meetings began immediately. The 3 great powers started coordinating their military forces. Orders went out to every fleet commander in alien space. The greatest armada in galactic history would be assembled to crush humanity before they could spread further. Admiral Morrison received his new orders while patrolling the outer rim with the Vengeance. The message was simple and direct. Enemy fleets were massing for an attack on human space. All available ships were to return to Earth immediately for the final battle. Dr. Carter worked frantically in her laboratory, analyzing every piece of alien technology they had captured. She had made a discovery that could change everything. The aliens were individually more advanced than humans, but they had a critical weakness. They had never faced an enemy that refused to follow their rules. "Captain," she told Morrison, "their weapons are designed for fighting other civilized species. Their tactics assume the enemy will retreat when the odds are hopeless. Their entire military philosophy is based on achieving victory with minimal losses." Morrison nodded grimly. "And humans, we are willing to lose everything to protect what matters to us. They cannot understand that, and they cannot defend against it." The Vengeance turned toward Earth, where Admiral Blake was preparing humanity's final stand. Behind them, the largest military force in galactic history was gathering. 3 civilizations that had ruled the stars for centuries were uniting to destroy a single species. They still did not understand what they were facing. Humans did not fight to win. Humans fought to ensure their children could live free. That made all the difference in the universe. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth's children never surrendered. The alien armada that assembled at the edge of human space was the largest military force in recorded history. Over 2,000 warships from 3 different empires stretched across the void like a metal cloud. Emperor Vashater commanded the Cathari fleet from his massive flagship. The Vorak crystal ships pulsed with deadly energy. The Hive bio vessels writhed with organic weapons. General Keithmore stood beside his emperor and watched the scanner displays. "My lord, we have confirmed the location of the human home world. Our scouts report only scattered defensive positions. They appear to be retreating toward their planet." Emperor Vashater smiled with all 4 of his mouths. "Excellent. We will crush their fleets and occupy their world. Once we control their breeding grounds, the human expansion will end forever." But the Emperor was wrong about what he would find at Earth. Admiral Blake had spent months preparing for this moment. The human defensive fleets were not retreating. They were being positioned exactly where she wanted them. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier had been placed with one purpose in mind. The aliens expected to find humanity's home world defended by whatever ships had survived the earlier battles. Instead, they found something that made their sensors scream warnings across every frequency. Admiral Morrison and the Vengeance waited in Earth's shadow along with the entire home fleet. These were not the exploration vessels or patrol ships the aliens had fought before. These were Earth's true warships, built in secret shipyards and hidden from alien scouts for decades. The UES Apocalypse hung in space like a floating fortress. Captain Nicole Wright studied the approaching enemy fleet through her tactical displays. Her ship was 3 km long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Behind her floated dozens of similar vessels, each one a monument to human engineering. "Captain," reported her tactical officer, "the alien fleet has entered our engagement zone. They are demanding our surrender." Wright smiled coldly. "Put me on all frequencies. Let every ship in their fleet hear this." The transmission went out across space, reaching every alien vessel simultaneously. Wright's face appeared on screens throughout the enemy armada, her expression calm, but her eyes filled with deadly promise. "This is Captain Wright of the Earth Defense Force. You came here to destroy our world and enslave our people. You wanted to see what happens when you threaten humanity's children. Now you will learn." Emperor Vashater laughed when he heard the message. "One planet against 3 empires. Their arrogance will be their destruction." But his laughter died when the first wave of missiles appeared on his scanners. The human fleet had been positioned not just to defend Earth, but to create a killing field. As the alien armada approached the planet, they found themselves flying into a carefully prepared trap. Missile pods that had been floating silent in space suddenly activated, filling the void with thousands of projectiles. The aliens had never seen weapons like these. Instead of energy beams that could be deflected by shields, the humans fired solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. The kinetic projectiles punched through alien armor like it was made of paper. Commander Zethar of the Cathari Second Fleet watched in horror as his ships died around him. "They have weapons hidden everywhere. How did they build so many missiles without us knowing?" The answer was simple. While the aliens had been building beautiful ships and elegant weapons, humans had been building tools of war. Every asteroid mining operation had been a cover for weapons manufacturing. Every trade mission had been scouting for strategic positions. The Battle of Earth lasted for 8 hours. It was not a battle in the traditional sense. It was systematic destruction on a scale the galaxy had never witnessed. Captain Monica Stevens of the UES Retribution led a squadron of destroyers against the Vorak crystal ships. The alien vessels were works of art, graceful and beautiful. Stevens' ships were ugly, functional, and absolutely deadly. "Target their power cores," she ordered. "Show them what human engineering can do." The crystal ships shattered like glass under the impact of human rail guns. Their elegant energy weapons were useless against armor designed to survive asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Meanwhile, Major Dan Cooper led the marine assault on the Hive biovessels. His troops wore powered armor that made them walking tanks. The insect-like aliens had never faced enemies that could absorb their weapons and keep fighting. "These bugs think in swarms," Cooper told his men. "Break their formations and they cannot adapt." The human Marines carved through Hive ship after Hive ship, their weapons burning through organic armor and destroying the nerve clusters that controlled the alien vessels. Dr. Carter monitored the battle from Earth's command center. What she saw confirmed her theories about alien psychology. The enemy fleets were not just being defeated, they were being traumatized. "Admiral Blake," she reported, "the aliens are broadcasting on all frequencies. They are calling us monsters, demons, creatures that should not exist." Blake watched another alien ship explode on her screens. "Doctor, we are simply humans defending our home." "If that makes us monsters, then I accept the title." The turning point came when Emperor Vashitor himself entered the battle. His flagship was the pride of the Cathari fleet, armed with the most advanced weapons his empire could build. He intended to destroy Earth's orbital defenses and force humanity's surrender. Admiral Morrison was waiting for him. The vengeance rose from Earth's shadow like an avenging angel. The two ships faced each other across the void, human determination against alien arrogance. "This ends now," Morrison said quietly. The duel lasted 3 minutes. When it was over, the Emperor's flagship was a burning wreck and Vashitor himself was dead. The Cathari fleet, seeing their leader destroyed, began to retreat. The Vorak crystal ships tried to maintain formation, but their commanders had lost the will to fight. They had come to destroy a primitive species and instead found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to grow stronger. As the battle continued, the Hive Collective made the decision that shocked everyone. Instead of continuing the fight, they simply left. Their biovessels turned away from Earth and jumped to hyperspace without explanation. The remaining alien ships followed them. The greatest armada in galactic history fled from a single planet, leaving behind the wreckage of over half their fleet. Admiral Blake stood on the bridge of her flagship and watched the enemy retreat. Around her, human ships counted their losses and tended their wounded. They had won, but the cost had been high. "Admiral," reported Captain Wright, "we have received surrender requests from 18 alien vessels. They are asking for mercy." Blake considered the request. The aliens had come to destroy Earth and enslave humanity, but they were also defeated enemies who no longer posed a threat. "Grant them safe passage to neutral space," she ordered. "But tell them to carry a message to their leaders. Humanity wants peace, but we will never again tolerate attacks on our people." 5 years later, Ambassador Mitchell stood before the reformed Galactic Council. The chamber was smaller now, and the aliens who sat in it looked at him with a mixture of respect and fear. "The Earth government accepts your proposal for trade agreements," he said. "But understand this clearly. Humanity will continue to expand. We will continue to explore new worlds and build new colonies. Any species that threatens our people will face the consequences." The aliens nodded silently. They had learned that humans were not like other species. They did not conquer for glory or wealth. They simply refused to be conquered by anyone else. In the Outer Rim, the Vengeance continued its patrol. Captain Morrison had been promoted to Admiral, but he still commanded the ship that had started it all. Earth's battleship remained on guard, a reminder to the galaxy that humanity's children were protected by those who had learned to make the darkness their ally. The galaxy had screamed in terror when Earth's battleship arrived. Now it whispered in respect when human ships passed by.